Mine has one diode laser, which is a red diode laser. Now that is important because there are two lasers in this machine. There's a blue light and a red light. Okay, red light is going to mark the metal. Gold, silver, platinum, copper, brass, steel, stainless, any of those. Whereas the blue light is going to be good for more organic materials, wood, leather, paper materials, stuff like that. So it's kind of nice because this one's quite versatile in that you have a lot of different options. Then there are some additional accessories that you can do. So we have a rotary item right here too. I can put a ring on it, or I can put bracelets on it. I can do the inside or the outside of rings and bracelets. And so it's kind of nice that way. Downsides is that they call this an engraver. And it's, you know, so everybody gets this beautiful idea of, oh, I don't have to hand engrave anything. No, this is a marker. So it will engrave in the fact that it goes into the metal, but we're talking microns. So if I were to take this and just do one layer, I can rub that off within a month of wearing. Just wearing it, it will rub off. You can sometimes, it depends on how deep you get this, right? And in order for you to get it deep, you have to go over it many, many times, and it takes a long time. So it's definitely not a fast process if you want it to go deep. Now, I can get it deep enough, like after like 4 passes, 4 nice little passes or something like that, that it's not just going to rub off, right? So if I want to mark something a little bit deeper, then that's what I do, multiple passes going at a slower speed, okay? There's a number of accessories, like I said, so you've got this. The other one that I kind of like is a table, and I can lay out multiple pieces and then tell it, okay, let's do this batch engraving. So that one's kind of nice, especially, and I don't even have to do the exact same image each time. Like I can have a different image on different sections of the plate as it goes through. So let's say that I wanted to do, for instance, garden stakes, right? So I've got my basil, my cilantro, my carrots, my tomatoes, whatever. But I can lay out everything, and then I can tell it, just batch process that all at the same setting, and it goes boop, 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 boop. So there's some fun things that they've put in there. Now, one thing that they also have is this cover. I have issues with this particular cover. The reason I have issues with it is because right now I am aligned, and I can see that I'm aligned because I have 2 dots that look like there's actually 1. But in order for me to align it, this kind of has to be off so I can see what I'm doing, right? And I also need this off so that I can see the layout line. But now, I can't get it put back in. So now I have to lift it back up, put it on, and then try to align it again. So I have some issues with this. There are some other options that I know that I've seen it. I saw it in Italy. There was one that made a whole cover for the whole thing. I'm like, yes, why don't we just do that? Get rid of this. Let's do the whole box thing. So I know that, you know, if you do some research in whoever you buy it through, there are different options that you can get for this. I like this because it's a step forward, right? Like mine didn't come with any kind of eye protection, which is stupid because it's a laser, and you have to really be careful with this. It is a laser, and I know people who have cataracts that have developed rather quickly because they thought, oh, it's nothing big to look at it. Oh, yes, it is big to look at it, right? And that's also going to blend over to my next tool, which is the pulse arc welder. Okay, you'll notice that here we have a screen. Some people don't use that screen. Some people think, oh, it's a tiny little spark. Oh no, it's a tiny little spark, and that's also a tiny little hole in the back of your retina. So think about it. Think about welders. There's a reason that welders wear eye protection. Okay, and that is also the case for this. This is a welder. It just is a micro TIG welder, not a massive TIG welder. So you still want to make sure that you're taking the safety precautions necessary. You get 1 set of eyeballs, right? So make sure you take care of that. So this particular pulse arc welder is fantastic. It's a newer one. It goes from 1 to 30 joules. Okay, so we measure our increments of energy in joules. So 1 to 30. So this is a little guy. He's not going to do anything massive, but this pendant right here is done with a welder, but it is not done with this welder. Mine is done on a 200i. So this is done with a pole-side welder. So the thing that's kind of cool about this is that I was able to do all my engraving. I did my stone setting, and then I put it together. It's not soldered. I did solder my bezel. So for me, welding, welding and soldering are a marriage, right? One doesn't replace the other, and sometimes it can, but I like to put the two of them together and let each of their strengths be their strengths. Okay, so for me, it made more sense to solder my bezel in rather than to weld that in, because then I would have had all the cleanup, right? And it's no big deal to just solder something in when it's just nothing but metal. Now, once I have my stone in place, I could not solder the outside of this. So that's where I then turned to welding. So what would a machine like this do? I have this machine, no, I don't have this machine. I have a counterpart of it that's the M-Pulse. It was the precursor to this, is what I have in my studio. And the M-Pulse also goes to 30 joules. Okay, but why have that if I already have the other one? Well, this one lends itself to portability, right? It's very easy to pick up and move around. My 200i probably weighs the weight of all three of these things together. Okay, so it's bigger, it's bulkier, I have a microscope, I've got a screen. So this is kind of nice, especially if you do anything like with the permanent jewelry trend that's happening, right? So that's something, that's what this one was actually developed for. And it's super easy, all you have to do is turn the dial. And as I turn the dial, there's a little light up here, okay? I should do this. Oh yes, absolutely. Oh man, I forgot my little notebook. I have the coolest notebook. I will run and grab it in just a minute after we kind of get some nibbles going. But as I turn this, see the light blinking here? So each time that blinks, I'm going up a joule or down a joule. So it gives me that visual indicator, plus then of course there's the line that points to whatever we're on, okay? So that's kind of nice for that. And then you have to have it grounded. There is a circuit that has to be completed between these two items. Okay, so this is my control box that tells how much energy to send over here. Whereas then here, I have my stylus with an electrode, a tungsten electrode. Okay, and what's going to happen is this is going to tell it, okay, I want you to release this much energy. But notice that I touch it and nothing at all happens. Okay, so I mean I can poke myself. I can poke myself really good. Do that all the time. But as soon as I bring this up here, okay, it sets the machine off. And that's because now I'm completing the circuit. And that's why we need a grounded pair of pliers. So now my circuit is complete. So what I would do here is I would put my ring, my necklace, my chain, my wire, whatever it is that I'm going to weld into this. Okay? As long as this is touching that, it doesn't matter where it's touching it. As long as it's touching and it can tell that the machine, the circuit is complete, the energy will come. Okay?
Do you have to not be touching it?
So, good question. That's a good question. It depends entirely on, well, I'll set that down there for a second. And I turned it off. I got it.
You got it. You know, you're cold.
You know. So, it depends. If I'm holding a silver ring, believe me, I'm not going to be wanting to hold that. Because it is so conductive that the heat will follow, you know, it'll flow and it's going to burn you, right? But if I'm working on a gold ring, the gold doesn't conduct in the same way. So I would be able to hold a gold ring much longer than I could, say, copper or silver, right? The other thing too is just like when we're soldering, we want our join pretty close to each other, okay? So if I have a little bit of a gap, it's not like the metal says, oh, you want me to attach over there? Let me take care of that for you. And it doesn't do that. It's like, whatever. And then they ball up and they fly the other way. Okay? So that's going to be something that will happen as well. when, I really do, I need to go grab that other little notebook. Whenever I get a welder, what I do is I put together a test. And I will cut tons and tons and tons of jump rings. You know, different sizes or different gauges or whatever else. And then I'll try it at all the different settings. And then, you know, I write in my notebook. So this one, for instance, I did one on the Zapp Plus not too long ago. So I know it goes from 1 to 30. So I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 30. And then I got all my little rings, and I come in and I tap my ring, and it goes in the book at that jewel. Tap my ring, goes in at that jewel. And then I tape it in. So now I can go back and I can see, what does this look like? Which one was the right setting? Which one was not enough? Which one was too much? What happened if I had too much? And all of that, right? And then now I have a record that's going to show me what all of that looks like. So once we get done with this demonstration, I'll run over, because this is over in the guest fighting booth. I'll run over and grab that notebook. And you guys are welcome to take pictures of it and everything to see how I lay it all out. But that's what I do. And by the time I do hundreds of jump rings like that, not only am I really comfortable with my machine, but now I'm also really comfortable with knowing why a weld happened or did not happen, or how to fix it, and how to hold it, which is going to be one of the more important things, because there's definitely a learning curve when it comes to this mini TIG, right? There's like, sometimes you're like, what, is anything even happening? Why isn't it happening? Why did I just blow this up? What happened to my ring? It just kind of disappeared, you know, so, because you can definitely annihilate things. So that's, you know, something there. Why else would I want this? So I talked about permanent jewelry. This is great for jump rings. If I did nothing but jump rings, this would be worth my investment. So that is what I do there. I also really like the ability to pin my bales. And that now gives me the motion and movement. I do it on my hinges, so I don't have to sit and rivet my hinges unless I want to. But usually a nice little decorative edge, you know, on either side. Another thing that I'll do too sometimes, if I'm doing more of an organic type of a piece, and sometimes not even on my organic pieces, but I will take prongs and I'll ball up the end of a prong just as a decorative element. Another thing that I like to do is I never file ear wires anymore. You will never find me filing ear wires, because I can either turn the energy up or down depending on what I want. If I've got the energy low enough, it'll just round it out for me, and it's done. Or what I like to do, it doesn't, unless I want it to. And then the other thing that's really, really cool about this, okay, on sterling silver, how many times have you created a ball? Perfect ball in sterling silver? Never. But I do it all the time with the welders. Like, they just come in and go, and it's a beautiful little ball. So I'm telling you, I did, I am, as a matter of fact. So here's what I did. I cut little pieces of copper, some little sticks, and I've got some jump rings in copper. So you guys are gonna try it, and you guys are welcome to play with this. Yeah, come on, I can't just demo it. That was fun as that. I already know how to do it. You guys get to come and play. That's the fun part of this. So, okay, here's an example of a way to use some of this. I have girls. I've got 2 of them that are still at home. I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. Okay, but back in October, Kiari, my youngest, was only 12. And I have another laser that's similar to this at my home. So it's not the LaserPecker, but it's its competitor. And they have similar capabilities. She wanted these little cat earrings, little black cat earrings for Halloween. And so we made them, and of course I filmed her doing it, and I put together my little Instagram reel, and I'm like, check out what Kiara did. Okay, but she did. She engraved it, so it marks the cat, and then it cuts it out in acrylic. Okay, so I did that. Then she went in and she took all the jump rings, put them together, like chained them together a little bit so that it would hold the cat upright. And then she took it over to the welder and welded each of the rings closed. Then she made her ear wires, balled up the ends of the wire so that it was all smooth, and then she had her pair of earrings. I'll find a little video for you guys while we're playing, and you guys can see it. So she did that, and of course I posted, look at her cute little earrings. And somebody said, hey, will she make me a little pair of bats? I said, sure. So, you know, I showed him again making the little bat earrings. I'm like, Kiara got her first customer. Then she had 60 orders.
For bats?
All sorts of things. So we had pumpkins and ghosts and bats. She made $1,000 in 2 days. So, you know, she was like over the moon. And of course, who did a lot of the work too? I mean, I made her work her butt off, right? But Mom was still sitting there working. But I mean, that's something that you can do with like these. And while each of these are a little bit of investment, okay, so let's say that you were to buy like the deluxe system of this, you're looking at about $2,500. Let's say that you're looking at this particular setup right here, or maybe you even bump it up to the one that has the microscope. Again, you're only looking at like another $2,500.
So what do you have? Is that have a microscope?
I have this. I have this. Okay, so the one that I have, yes, on this one, that's an $8,000. So that one's a step up big time, right? Lots more energy, lots more capabilities, settings, different things like that. But it, you know, talking just even like Kiari and her stuff, I mean, you know, and of course I get lots of flack from people going, oh, like I'm gonna buy my kid a $2,000 laser. I'm like, shut it. I already had it. I let her use it. At least I teach my kids skills. Stuff the sock in it, right? So, but I mean, it gives you kind of an idea of some of the fun little things that you can do. And the fun thing too is that you can set some of this stuff, let it do its thing while you come over here and do this thing. So it can work while you're doing something else. So maybe while this is all cutting things up, maybe I'm over here putting my jump rings together, putting my gear wires together. And these can be like little ticket items that can go on your booth to go then along with all your big ticket items. These are just the ones that are like $25. And let's bring you in and let's start looking at the $300 items that I can then customize with your name or your date or your special saying or whatever else like that. Because then people can pick what they want, and they're like, okay, let's write, I love you, or whatever the case might be, okay? So when it comes to the designs, like this, there's a couple different settings that are in here. So for instance, these two are the exact same, but one was at a 4K setting, one was at an 8K setting. So take a look at them, and you can just barely see the difference on that. And both of those were only run through with one pass. So it's not very deep, okay? And then this one right here, this one gives you a really good 4K to 2K right there on that one. Right, you're not gonna feel these because they were all run with just one pass. We're gonna start here. So what I did was I've got some little brass charms, okay? And so I've got little brass charms. I mean, you can buy these on Amazon, you can buy them wherever. I've got little stainless steel dog tags, whatever it is. Okay, with my daughter, my older one, my 17-year-old, she's going into engraving and stone setting for vocation. And so as practice, I will do practice plates. So all of these items right here, even though I printed them up for this demonstration, when I go home, they will all be engraved by hand with a graver. So it's nice because now she has practice plates, or I have practice plates, right? And then we can even do them on rings. Like we can print our pattern on a ring or a bracelet. So then she works on those skills. So what I'm gonna do is okay, first of all, you guys see this right here, and it looks like it's one dot, right? As I bring this up, you're gonna see it's going to separate into two dots, right? Okay, so what this is it gives me a visual cue of the alignment of the piece, all right? I need this to be at one dot in order for it to actually be aligned, okay? And when I get going on this, I'm going to have you guys watch up there because I'm not going to put this on, just so that you guys can watch the you can watch it happening, but you don't want to be watching this, right? So what we're going to do first of all is I need to get my design. Now there is an app and you can do it on your iPad, you can do it on your phone, whatever. Okay, so here, I'm gonna just get rid of this guy. All right, because there's so many of us. Okay, that's what it looks like. And I'm gonna create something. So I'm gonna click create. So now I have my design area. We'll go like that. Okay, so I have my design area. Down here at the bottom, we've got some different buttons that we can use. So let's say we're gonna put in some clip art. So this isn't working because I'm not connected to the internet, right? So I've got some here, but it's not putting it in. I don't know why. So let's say, all right, let's work off of an image. Let me see if I can find an image that would be appropriate for this. Hang on, because I know I've got one here somewhere. The other thing that's kind of cool too is you can take a PDF and you can do a PDF, right? So if you've got, for instance, all right, I found one. So there's a drawing, right? Okay, so I'm going to tell it that that's what I want. So now I'm going to hit preview, and it's going to say, hey, you know, let's make sure that our working area is safe, wear your goggles, or you've got this protective field. All right, I'm going to tell it to preview it. Now, it gives me that big square, but notice that I'm still like way out of alignment here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this in here. And now I'm going to bring this down, and as I do, not only is that square going to get smaller, okay, my two little dots become one. Okay, so I know that doesn't really look like it there, but on mine I can see the little red dot. But that's huge. That's not going to fit onto my piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this, and I'm going to move it down. And I love that they finally did this, where they put it so it's interactive with me. Like, I didn't have to move my piece, right? So that part was kind of cool because I could just move it onto my piece. However, if this was on, I would not see that little blue light because the yellow cancels out the blue light. So I'm going to have you guys watch there, and I'm going to stand in front of this. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell it, well, I need to preview this, and then I'm going to tell it next. And it's going to ask me which setting do I want. So I've got 1K, 2K, 4K, 8K. I'm going to leave it at 4K. That's going to give me a nice dark impression. Okay? So then I'm going to tell it to send the file to the machine. It's telling me, okay, I'm getting it. And now I've got it. And now it asks me, what is my material? It does not have brass in here. This happens to be a brass thing, but I'm going to tell it copper because that has a lot of the similar properties for this. So I'm going to leave it at copper, and then I can tell it if I want to change my power, the depth, and how many passes. I'm going to go ahead and give this more power. Let's say, we'll say 81. And then for my depth, let's go a little bit deeper. We'll go to 20. And how do I know what I'm choosing? I don't. Right now I'm just playing. Okay? And then I can tell it to save this material as well. I'm not going to right here. And now I can tell it to start. So watch the screen, but not. There we go. So now it's going to start marking this. And because I did the 4K, it might take a little bit longer. Okay, but it shouldn't take too long here. So we're already at 10%. To give you kind of an idea. And now on the screen you can start to see that coming up. Right? No, that just has to do with the alignment of the laser. I'm actually kind of surprised that that little, oh, I probably marked it. There's settings in here, and I probably just said leave the little red light on. But yeah. So you can kind of see that design is coming up now. So we're at 40% now. Let me know as far as our progress goes. Okay, so this, it looks like a necklace pendant. So what would we do next? Next, I'm going to throw a jump ring into this. And then I'm going to weld that jump ring closed. And then from there, I need a photograph of it, right? So then we'll start talking about the gem light box. You know, I saw this gem light box 2 years ago at JCK. And oh my gosh, you guys, I seriously was like, just take my money. Like, it made it so easy to take a photograph of my piece. So we're at 75% right now. But it made it so easy to take a picture of my piece. It took care of the background, it took care of all the lighting, and all I have to do is throw it up onto my website. I don't have to edit anything. And now they have it where it'll write this description for you and everything. It's crazy. Okay, we're at 90%, so almost there. I always love it when it gets down to the bottom. It's like watching the penny go down the little hole. There it goes. Okay, and we're done. This is where I really like having a microscope. Okay, so what I like to do is I'll brace myself. I'm not going to touch here, but I do brace myself. If this were down further, I would brace down here. But since it's up, I'm going to brace up here. Hopefully you guys can still see that. And then I'm just going to touch here. There we go.
I won't charge you for it.
This one is a little bit big because I did change it. This was set at 14. So, okay. Yeah, between 8 and 13. There's a little black spot right there.
Yeah.
Because I did not use argon. So, typically I use argon.
Yeah.
Argon is like reflex, right? It keeps the surface a little bit cleaner, so you'll still have the soot that shows up, but it's just soot. It's on the surface. And then you can take a fiberglass brush and wash it off. Now, without the argon, sometimes, yes, it'll penetrate a little bit deeper when you have, without the argon.